devotee, Nag Mahashaya. Mahashaya means great soul, and Nag was the surname of Durga Charan Nag. His full name was Durga Charan Nag. As we heard in the reading, how Swami Vivekananda regarded the greatness, that I have traveled many places in the world, how many places he traveled in that time. But nowhere have I come across such a great soul as Nag Mahashaya. That was the compliment of the great Swami Vivekananda to Nag Mahashaya. Swami Saradananda visited Nag Mahashaya on his deathbed. Saradananda wrote to Swami Turiyananda, his brother disciple. Nag Mahashaya was greater than any of us monks. I saw him go into Nirvikalpa Samadhi again and again. Signs of ecstasy were visible on his body. He came back from Nirvikalpa to normal consciousness and then finally gave up his body in Samadhi. And this he all attained through his unparalleled devotion. Nag Mahashaya is often compared with Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda and Nag Mahashaya, comparing these two great devotees of God. Girish Ghosh remarked, Mahamaya fell into a great difficulty in trying to ensnare two persons. She always keeps us in net, Mahamaya. She had difficulty in trying to tie two persons, Naren and Nag Mahashaya. As she tried to capture Naren, Swami Vivekananda, he became bigger and bigger, and at last so big that all her fetters fell short, and she had to give up her task as hopeless. And when she attempted her trick on Nag Mahashaya, he began to make himself smaller and smaller, and at last reduced himself to such a degree of smallness that he easily escaped through the meshes of her snares. So Mahamaya could not, both were free souls. In Nag Mahashaya, his humility, effacement of ego, total effacement is seen. His devotees wanted to take a photo of him. When Nag Mahashaya was living, he was requested many times to sit for his photograph. But he objected always, saying, why should you be so anxious to take picture of this cage and flesh and bones? Now that he was silent, they had him photographed after decorating the body with garlands and sandal paste, that after his passing away. From this photograph, the later printer, Priyanath Singha, had an oil painting drawn, which is still preserved in Nag Mahashaya's house, and the likeness that we have given in the frontispiece is one after this oil painting. We have only this photograph of this oil painting that is available everywhere. An ideal devotee is one who is always with God. He doesn't forget God even for a moment. We know the story of Narada and Lord Vishnu. Once Narada thought, Narada used to always remember God, and he used to take the name of Narayana. He thought perhaps God has given him, by his grace, so much that he is perhaps the biggest and greatest devotee, because he is allowed to repeat the name of God always without ceasing. Then one day Narada asked Vishnu, Lord, who is your greatest devotee? Thinking that Lord will say, of course, you are my greatest devotee. But what Vishnu said, the farmer there is the greatest devotee. Then Narada thought, how can he be greatest? And he wanted to taste that farmer. He came to the world and he observed the farmer, what he does, how much he remembers God. He saw farmer got up in the morning and said the name of God once. And then utilized all his time in tilling the land and working on the seeds and irrigating the land. And the whole day went like that and looking after his family, his children, his wife. And he never seemed to be remembering God or taking the name of God. And when he went to bed, and again he said, Lord's name, Narayana, he said, and he went to bed. Only twice he uttered the name of God. Narada goes to Vishnu and said, Lord, I saw that farmer you were describing as your greatest devotee. But I don't see much in his devotion. Only twice in a day he remembered you, and the whole day he couldn't remember you. He had no time to remember you. How is it he is the greatest devotee? Then Lord Vishnu said, in time you will know about that. So one day, Narada had come, there was a conference-like thing, meeting, and Lord Vishnu said to Narada, Narada, can you bring a bowl and fill it with milk up to the brim? Say, of course, whatever Lord said, that was a command for him. He brought, and the milk was filled up to the brim to the bowl. And he said to Narada, Narada, can you go around this hall and take care that not a drop of milk spills? And the milk was just up to the brim of the bowl. Narada took the ball in his hand and slowly from one corner of the wall to another corner and finally again reached the Vishnu, and really not a drop of milk was spilled. And he, beamingly, with joy, by accomplishing his work, he presented that ball to Vishnu. Vishnu said, Narada, well done, but I have a question. How many times could you remember my name? Could you chant my name? Narada said, Lord, you had given me such a difficult work. My whole mind was on this milk that it should not spill. I couldn't remember your name even once. Then Lord said, you see, that farmer has the responsibility like yours. He has to look after his family and children. And still he manages to remember me twice a day. Is it not the greatest? Then Narada realized that what is an ideal devotee? Even with that great burden of family, if he can remember God and not forget Him, even twice, is great. Sri Ramakrishna said, he is a true hero who can perform all the duties of the world with his mind fixed on God. None but a very strong man could stop to admire a bridal procession moving by while carrying a load of 2 mounds, that is 164 pounds, on his head. Someone is carrying very heavy load on his head, and when heavy load is there, always there is the worry of when I can get off my load. But the expert person, what he will do, there was a bridal procession going on. And he could stand, he was so much expert in carrying the load, he was so great a hero, brave person, he could stand and enjoy the bridal procession going. He was not worried about that weight. So he says about the heroes, the brave men are like that. Even with the load of samsara, they can enjoy God. And devotion to God is intact in them. They are not worried about the load that they are carrying, load of family, samsara. The life of a devotee is based on spirituality. It requires us to work with a spirit of service, surrendering the results of all actions, and adherence to the truth in all circumstances is the path. This is not an easy path. A householder devotee should live in the world without being worldly, like a mudfish which lives in the mud, but mud does not stick to its body. Harmonizing God with the world, balancing meditation and the action, loving all but not getting attached, considering everything belonging to God, knowing God to be the doer of all activities. These all seem to be almost impossible, but it is not impossible. Personalities like Sri Ramakrishna's teach us this. They teach us through their lives and words, and more effectively through the lives of their devotees and disciples, who are molded by their master in such a way that they become perfect exemplars of their teachings. Sri Ramakrishna teaches us not only through his gospel, tales and parables, but also more so through Vivekananda, Brahmananda, Nag Mahashaya, Master Mahashaya, and others. Nag is the surname of Durgacharan, as I was telling, and Mahashaya means great souled one. Why Mahashaya? Because he was an illumined soul who had conquered all desire for world or for heaven, and had reached a state when one is ever contented, ever blissful, ever free. One of the great Advaita Vedanta treatises, Ashtavakra Samhita, says, those desirous of worldly enjoyment and those desirous of liberation, both are found in this world. But rare indeed is the great souled one, Mahashaya, who is not desirous of either enjoyment or liberation. Nag Mahashaya, to get to his life, Nag Mahashaya was born in 1846 at the village named Devotee near Dhaka, now in Bangladesh. His mother had died when he was very young, of 8 years of age. His father, Deen Dayal, loved son very much, and the young Durgacharan was raised by his aunt Bhagavati. Aunt used to tell him stories from Ramayanam and Mahabharata, and Durgacharan used to dream of those stories, what it was told in his dream, and relate that to his aunt in the morning, and aunt used to be filled with so much of joy. He studied up to grade 8 in the local school in the village, and after that he was admitted in a school in Dhaka. Dhaka town was about 10 miles away from Devotee. Small boy, and but he chose to walk. There was no other conveyance. Daily 10 miles going to the school in Dhaka and 10 miles returning. The aunt used to prepare some food in the morning, used to take. But the distance was great. When he came, it was almost night. And there were times, sunshine and rains. There was very hot weather. He used to go in that. And when he came, there were a lot of rain. Sometimes he used to get rains, and aunt used to be filled with worries what will happen to his nephew. And there times happened. Once he encountered a ghost. And ghost, when he saw, he was not afraid. He said, I have done no wrong to this ghost, so what he will do? So he went straight ahead. He was not afraid. And after some time, he heard a ghost laughing from behind, but he didn't care, and he still came forward. Another time there was rain, and the road was flooded, and he slipped into a roadside pond. And he was very late to come, and pond was so deep, the margins of the pond was so deep, he was not able to come out. And finally, he tried a lot to catch the hedges, the water hedges that to come out, but he was not able. Then finally he surrendered to God, and he get the strength and came out and reached home late. So mother used to be very worried. His father used to be in Calcutta for the earning, for living. He used to work in Kumartuli. And in a simple, he used to get little money. With that, somehow, the life of his son and himself used to run away. At 15, he was given to marriage because he was a very saintly nature, very truthful and didn't care for the worldly things. And he was so much honored for his truthfulness that once his playmates say, you have to say something which is untruth so that we win in a game. He said, how can I do? I can never speak untruth. And the friends were so angry, they just dragged him for a few feet, and his whole body was bruised. When he came back, the blood was oozing, but he never said anything against his friends. So he was very truthful. And like that happens, these great souls, they have very extraordinary traits from their very small childhood. And to bind to the world, what the parents always do, they want to give them in marriage and they think that he will be a worldly man. Every worldly father wants to make his son or daughter a worldly person. So he was given in a marriage when he was only 15 and his wife was 11. But it was like a betrothal, but after some time that wife again died. Then this Durgacharan was admitted in a college in Calcutta to study medicine, and finally he left that college and he studied homeopathy under a famous doctor called Bihari Lal Bhaduri. And under the guidance of the doctor, he became a very successful homeopathic doctor. And with his intuition, he could cure patients and his fame started spreading. But he was such a saintly nature that he never accepted extra money from his patients. Once he went to a patient who was very sick and he tried to treat him, and whole day he tried, and at the end that small boy could not survive, he died. When they wanted to give him fees, he accepted none, and he came back crying that he couldn't save the boy. The masters of his father was also this Durgacharan's patient. So he treated one of cases when they were one of the family members were very sick, and they wanted to give him a lot of gold coins in a silver casket. He presented and he refused. He said, no, the whole work I did for 1 week to you, I owe only 20 rupees from you. That is your due to me. I accept only that and not extra. If you want to give extra, give it to my father. So like that he was very free from greed. Whenever he saw some poor patients, he gave what they needed. Often he bought food for them, he gave free medicine for them, and he didn't earn much money. He was never a rich person. He used to live in a very simple cottage-like house in Calcutta, in Kumatuli. But once he found a person, his patient was very poor and he had no wrapper. He gave his own silken wrapper, silk shawl. Another time he found a devotee has no cot, has no bed. He sent another extra bed from his house. Such was his compassion towards patients, but he never wanted to earn money with that. But his love for God was intact. His main ambition was to realize God. That was what he was made for. Durgacharan was an ideal aspirant. His faithfulness to his ideal was tested through marriage and then through money. Lust and greed, name and fame are greatest obstacles to God realization. He was confronted with these obstacles at every step, and he overcame them every time. When his first wife died, again Durgacharan thought he should be bound, he will give up the world and become a sannyasi, and he was given in marriage for the second time. God provides everything needed for a sincere devotee, and Durgacharan was also provided with whatever he needed, little money, whatever he could get from his practice of medicine. He earned the money. Once he was trying to realize God, and he met one holy man and said, however strong might be your faith and intense your love for God, unless you are initiated by a guru and practice sadhana according to his instructions, you cannot have the vision of God. Someone said to him that mantra diksha is necessary for realization of God. You may be very devoted, Then he said, from whom to take mantra diksha? And one day he sees his guru, his family guru, who lived in East Bengal, Deobhog, coming by boat to Calcutta. And he said, strange, how did you come? And he was on the Ganga that time. And he said, I came for you. Divine Mother said me in a dream that I need to initiate you with the mantra. God provides everything when we are ready. Durgacharan's second wife, Sarad Kamini, came to Calcutta. Durgacharan said to her, love on the physical plane never lasts. Blessed is he who can love God, heart and soul. Be not attached to this cage of flesh and bones. Take refuge in the Divine Mother and think of her alone. Thus your life here and hereafter will be noble. Sharad Kamini, the wife's name, was very pure by the prayer of Durgacharan Nag. When a person comes in close contact with a God-intoxicated soul, that person's mind rises above physical plane. And that happened with Sharad Kamini Devi. People read about God, talk about God, hear about God. But how many really want to experience Him directly? Durgacharan was among those rare few who want to experience God. Durgacharan befriended one Suresh Datta, and he was a devotee of Brahmo Samaj, quite opposed to the beliefs of Durgacharan. Durgacharan was a traditional Hindu who believed God with form and ritualistic worship. And Suresh Datta was a very fond admirer of Brahmo Samaj who didn't believe in the God with form and ritualistic worship. But in spite of their ideological differences, they became very good friends because Durgacharan was a real devotee. His devotion, his character was something blazing. And one day they heard about Sri Ramakrishna and they decided to go and meet Sri Ramakrishna to Dakshineshwar. Both Durgacharan and Suresh Datta, they started on food. It was a summer month in March, April. And while going, they walked a lot and it was a very hot summer day. And Dakshineshwar was not coming. Then they asked, how far is Dakshineshwar? To a wayfarer. They said, you already left Dakshineshwar back. Go back and find there. They came back again, went to Dakshineshwar, and they go to Dakshineshwar asking for Sri Ramakrishna. And in the room of Sri Ramakrishna, they found one sannyasi-like person. He said, is there a holy man live here? He said, holy man? Oh, today that holy man has gone to Chandannagar. And this was Pratap Hajra. He said, they have come to Sri Ramakrishna's room, Pratap Hajra is at the door, and he says, Sri Ramakrishna has gone to Chandannagar today. They walked so long in the sun, perspiring, they were very sad. Suddenly, this Durgacharan sees there is someone sitting inside, it was not very lighted, and he is beckoning him to come in. Sri Ramakrishna was seated inside, and this Pratap Hajra says, no, he is not here, he has gone out. Then they went inside, and this Suresh Datta folded his hand, made namaskar, and Durgacharan bowed down and touched the ground and wanted to touch Sri Ramakrishna's feet. Sri Ramakrishna pulled his feet and didn't allow Durgacharan. He was set aback, but he was not offended. He said, yes, I am not that pure yet to touch this holy man's feet. And he just waited. But he felt he was denied because he was not so pure yet. Later on, when one day, after many visits, Sri Ramakrishna one day said to Durgacharan, Durgacharan, I have some uneasy feelingness in my leg. Can you just check it? What has happened? Durgacharan touched his feet and saw it and says, Thakur, there is nothing, I find no defect in it. Oh, there must be some. Then he realized, oh, he denied me touching his feet. Now today he is willingly giving me an opportunity to touch his feet. That was his grace. So he was overwhelmed. In the first meeting, Sri Ramakrishna said to them, live in the world like a mudfish. Mudfish doesn't get stuck by the mud. It keeps its skin bright. So live in the world, but not the world stain you. That was his teaching. And he said, come again. a relationship grows through visits, so invited. And Sri Ramakrishna that come again was so magical. So whoever came and heard this call, they always were pulled, as we read in the Yam's story in Gospel, how Sri Ramakrishna's pull Yam felt when he went home. He said, "Who is this man?" He said, "Come again. Why do I feel like going again there?" That was the spiritual pull of Yoga Maya. That was the pull that Sri Ramakrishna had. In his second visit, Sri Ramakrishna said, "I am glad to see you. It is for you that I am here." To Suresh, and he asked Nag Mahashaya to go to other place and fetch something for him, some water, some tobacco. And he said to Suresh, "Did you notice? This man is like a blazing fire." That was Sri Ramakrishna's study about Nag Mahashaya. He was already a great devotee, already a blazing fire. And Sri Ramakrishna's association gave him fulfilled, and he could reach the highest a man could aspire in his life. One day, when Durgacharan had gone to see Sri Ramakrishna was talking with other devotees, and he said, "You see, these doctors, lawyers, and others like them are very difficult to realize God." And he said, particularly about doctor. And he said that doctor, his mind is always concentrated on a small droplet of medicine. Doctor also, homeopathic doctor. A small droplet of medicine, how can he think of infinite God? Durgacharan heard this and he thought it was for him it is being said. He comes home, he was very famous doctor at that time. But Sri Ramakrishna's words were like command for him. Comes home, all his books, Materia, Medica or whatever is there, and box of homeopathic medicine, he takes to the Ganga and all he gives him. Doctory, medicine, practice of medicine stops. The goal of life is not earning money through medical practice, but realization of God is the goal of life. That was the devotee, that was the goal of Durgacharan. Now, one day, he went to see the master with an intention to renounce the world. He was so much intense, felt with renunciation. As soon as he reached there, master said, "What harm is there in remaining as a householder? Only keep the mind fixed upon God. Remain in the world like the ancient King Janaka, unattached. Your life should be an example how householders should live." That's Sri Ramakrishna didn't encourage everyone to renounce, not like Swami Vivekananda and Brahmananda. He guided all his disciples according to their intensity and their makeup. So to Yam and to Nag Mahashaya, he forbade from renouncing the world. Whereas Swami Vivekananda, he inspired and he said, without renunciation, how will you achieve? So he had to set example for everyone. Now let's see from his life, later life, that how special was Durgacharan Nag. So one day he was already set ablaze with the fire of service. And he was so compassionate, Nag Mahashaya was so compassionate towards all beings. One day when at East Bengal, a cow was tied near a pumpkin plant. And he saw that cow was trying to get to that pumpkin plant and eat it. Compassion rose in his mind, in his heart, and he let loose the cow, and the cow ate up that growing pumpkin plant from his relative's place. When his father heard this, he was very angry, and he said, his father said, "You yourself do not earn money. Instead of helping the household, why are you causing harm to it? You have given up your medical practice. Now how will you maintain yourself?" Durgacharan said, "Please don't worry about that. God will take care of me." Then his father said, "Yes, I know. Now you will go naked and live by eating frogs." He was very worried about Durgacharan. Then what Durgacharan did, he really saying this, he went into another state of consciousness, spiritual excitement, and he stripped off his cloth, went to the courtyard. There was a dead frog lying there. He took that frog and really, literally ate up that frog. And he comes to Father, Father, I did whatever you said to me. I will be naked and eat a frog. I have done that. Then Father was alarmed, and he said, really, he has become mad, and asked his daughter-in-law to say nothing to Nag Mahashaya. Whatever he does, let him be free. He's very special. He never saw any person like that. Deen Dayal, the father of Durgacharan, was very devoted, very attached to his son. He loved him dearly and wanted his son to establish in his life, but was always worried. He didn't know the power of God. When one can renounce everything to God, God will take every care. God says, as it is said in the Gita, Yoga Kshemam Vaham Meham. To my devotee who renounces everything, I take care of every aspect of him. Whatever he has, I protect. Whatever he lacks, I provide. I carry to him. And that is the faith a devotee has. When God is there, when Mother is there, why should I worry? No worry, no anxiety. Durgacharan would not tolerate worldly talk. He would not contradict anyone, nor would he indulge in criticizing others. If he happened to be angry with someone, he would mercilessly beat his own body, not that person, as we do. One day he criticized one person. He was very critical. Then Durgacharan realized, I didn't do the right thing. Why did I criticize that person? To punish himself, he beat his head with a stone until it bled, and it took about a month for wound to heal up. When asked, he said, the wicked deserve right punishment. Why did it criticize another person? No criticism, no seeing fault with others. Bhagavata says, Jitam rasam sarve jite. When you control your palate, you control everything. He who has controlled the tongue has controlled everything. Durgacharan would not eat sugar or even salt. He gave up wearing shoes and also shirt. A dhoti and a chadar, wrapper, was his dress. Girish Ghosh remarked, Nag Mahashaya has knocked on the head of rascal ego so severely that it cannot raise its hood anymore. When Durgacharan went to see Sri Ramakrishna next time, he expressed his agony that he has not attained complete self-surrender yet. Sri Ramakrishna, if you love this, pointing to himself, everything will be all right. Durgacharan, sir, how shall I pass my days at home? Sri Ramakrishna, you will not have to do anything, only remain in the company of holy. Durgacharan, I am a simple, uneducated man. How shall I recognize the holy man? Sri Ramakrishna, listen, you will not have to look for them. You will stay at home and the real holy people will come to you of their own accord. Sri Ramakrishna, when he was in his very serious illness in Kashipur, once Durgacharan came. And he told to Durgacharan, knowing that Durgacharan was a doctor, qualified doctor, he said, Durgacharan, you see, many doctors tried to cure this, but no one could cure. Can you do something for me? Durgacharan reflected for a moment and he said, yes, I can cure you. And he came forward. What he wanted to do? He had the power, through his devotion, he had the power to take the disease from Sri Ramakrishna's body to his own body. We hear in the story of how Babar took the disease of his son. So there are some processes when you can actually take the disease or suffering from other person to your own body and body suffers. When Durgacharan approached to do this, Sri Ramakrishna pushed him back and he said, yes, I know you can do that. That was power of Durgacharan Nag. The leaf plate story that as it was showed, when he ate, when prasad was given to Nag Mahashaya and he ate up that leaf plate. After that, whenever he was offered prasad on leaf plate, there used to be one devotee standing nearby. As soon as he finished his prasad, he would snatch the leaf plate from him. Otherwise, he will eat up the leaf plate. That was the danger. So everything for him was sacrament. His behavior was so peculiar. One day, Holy Mother, he loved Holy Mother, as we read from that. And he knew what the greatness of Holy Mother, very few people could know at that time. And Holy Mother one day gave him a piece of mango. Instead of eating that mango, he smeared that mango on his head. And this is, we don't understand. We ordinary people, we don't understand the devotion. It seems to be erratic, unfamiliar, but that is called Urjita Bhakti, extraordinary exuberance of devotion. Then one sings, cries, dances, laughs, or sometimes just remains dumb. When devotion goes to that state, it is not ordinary case. They are in that place of state of place where all ordinary livelihood seems to be all transgressed. And after that, Holy Mother make her sit near her, and fed her with food and also ate her. And she knew the devotion of Durga Charan. Swami Vivekananda remarked about Nag Mahashaya. Whole of East Bengal was blessed because of the birth of Nag Mahashaya. So great was Nag Mahashaya. Once Nag Mahashaya used to suffer from colic pain. He never cared for his body. And once devoted visitors came to his house in East Bengal. And with this pain, when devotees came, he was very happy. Guests came, Atithi Deva Baba. He rushed market to buy some articles. And in the process, the pain was so much, while coming back, he fell down and he was unconscious. And after he surrendered to Master, you did right to give this punishment to this body. You are taking all the past karmas of this body. He was all graceful for that he is suffering. And after that, he regained the consciousness and came back home and gave articles to his wife to cook and asked pardon from his guest. Sorry, I was late to come back. No complaint against anything about him. Two guests came at midnight and his house was not repaired. He didn't allow another person to repair his house. He didn't want anyone to work hard for his sake. So he didn't allow his house to be repaired, that someone will go and repair his house was not his made. So whenever he had gone somewhere, near shop or somewhere for one day or daytime, his wife used to call some mason or someone asked to repair the house. And the house was leaking. At night, two guests came. They had to give, only one room was there which didn't leak. All other places were raining that day. Then he told his wife, guests have come to our house. So why don't we vacate our room and allow them to stay in our bedroom, and we will go to eaves and there will pass night in meditation and japam. That is a great occasion. And really he did that. Sacrifice, this self-sacrifice was taken to such a great degree. Even today you find so much of this guest entertainment in the people from East Bengal, particularly I have seen. It's in all the devotees. Once one devotee, a couple devotees went to a person in Montreal and in the people from East Bengal. And what they did, they vacated their own bedroom and they went to the basement and gave their room for the guest. That is called guest treatment in the light of Atithi Devo Bhava. Guests are gods. So one can sacrifice all one's comfort for the sake of God. Once roof was leaking and Sharad Kamini called a person to repair the roof. And by chance, Nag Mahashaya came that time. And he saw somebody who was working in this hot summer days and sweating profusely. And he said, what are you doing? Why are you giving trouble for our sake to someone? It was not trouble, but he was suffering. He just called him forcibly, come down, no need, no more repair, come down. And that man, the roof repair person came down and Nag Mahashaya started fanning him and gave him water and gave whole day's wage and asked him to go home. No more repair. That was kind of devotion, compassion, seeing God in everyone. So much so, one day one person came, it was a rainy day, all this road to his house was flooded. This Bangladesh, this East Bengal, become like Athens, like Greece, that city. We have to go through boat on different places. What is the name of the city? Venice, right? Thank you. In Venice, like Venice during rainy season, you have to take a boat to go to one place. From boat you can go to another shop. All to the neighbor place you have to go through by boat only, because all places is flooded. House will be lying here and there. That is there in rain is so much there. So once one person was coming, it was rainy day and there was no boat. The man swam on the long distances to swim and he reached tired. Mahashaya saw that man came at night and he wanted to make some fire, some heat for that person, and said all his fire was weight and he couldn't burn that. Then what he did, he just cut the pole, one of the pole which was supporting his house, cut that and made it firewood and made fire and made food out from that fire. And he said, his wife said, what are you doing? He said, guests have come, braving the snakes, in the water, the poisonous snake in the water, this cold and this water, and this major house he was caring for that. Isn't he a God? So that was his devotion and his self-sacrifice. Once a neighboring house was on fire, about 15 yards away, and his wife was very worried, and Mahashaya came out and saw another house was ablaze, and the sparks and the things were coming on. It's a very windy day. Mahashaya, instead of protecting his house, what he did, he started dancing and worshipping. It is a Brahman, manifested Brahman there, the big ablaze fire. And say, how are you going to do? You have to protect. People had come and they started protecting. He said, if God protects, no one can destroy. And if God destroys, no one can protect. And really, his house didn't get fired at all. Mahashaya had gone to Calcutta, and there was a very auspicious moment called Ardhodaya Yoga. When it comes in a 15 years time, when people take a dip in Ganga and they feel their ignorance is gone, their sin is gone, and they go to heaven by the merit of taking bath on this very auspicious day. So Mahashaya came just one day before that. His father was very angry. You went to Ganga, such an auspicious moment, and you didn't take a dip there, and you didn't stay one day longer, you came back to this village. Mahashaya said, if there is true devotion, Ganga will come to our house. And literally it happened on that day, there had come some devotees to Mahashaya. Mahashaya's fame was already there as a holy man. People used to come to visit him. There a small stream came in southeast corner of his courtyard. And that small water was leaking from the ground and it became like a stream. Mahashaya was called and he came out. He said, you see, Ganga has come on today's auspicious day and he sprinkled that water to the devotees and to his father and says, Ganga comes. And when this story was told to Swami Vivekananda, he said, the wish of a great soul like Mahashaya can make the impossible possible. Their infallible willpower can even liberate people. So it happened in Shankaracharya's life, how river changed the course. In Mahashaya's life, we see how the Ganga came in his courtyard and he was. Mahashaya, the true devotee, used to see God in everything. It is the culmination of Vedantic experience. Mahashaya was asked why he remained with folded hands whenever he met people. Whenever he met people, he used to always with folded hands. Mahashaya replied, I perceive God in every being and everything. He practiced non-violence. He couldn't kill anything. Once on his fence, bamboo fence, there were white ants. One of the visitor relatives saw white fence and he just shook that bamboo so that the white ants get out of it. Mahashaya, what have you done? The white ants were making their house in this fence and you deprived them of their house. He was almost in tears. And he goes to the white ants and say, please go up and make our house. That was not Mahashaya. One day there was a fisherman who was selling live fish. And Mahashaya saw fish were there. He bought the fish, paid money. And instead of going to the kitchen, he went to the pond and released all fish. And saw fish swimming in the pond and was so happy. He couldn't kill anything. That was Mahashaya's this thing. Once he saw a cobra in his courtyard. His wife came to kill that cobra. Mahashaya said, don't kill cobra. And he prayed to Mahashaya, the deity, who is presiding deity of snakes. And he said, Mother, don't disturb here. Please go and rest in the forest. And he laid that cobra, and cobra followed him to the forest, nearby forest, and the cobra went there. Once Mahashaya was taking bath in pond, and there was snake. It bit Mahashaya's toe. And Mahashaya was standing still. He didn't shake his toe even to let the snake go away. Then after some time, snake by itself went. Came home, bleeding. Then his wife asked, what happened? Oh, there was a water snake, not poisonous. He thought that it was a food, that's why it bit. Nothing happened, it will heal up. So that was his thing. He couldn't find defect, or he didn't have any desire even to save his body. Total self-surrender was not Mahashaya. He whom God loves, everyone loves, that is said. Mahashaya was loved by everyone. Whenever he went to buy articles, groceries, in Asia, South Asia, how we bargain. He never bargained with the shopkeepers. Whatever they asked, he gave. And he never bothered to take the change back even. And really the shopkeepers were also, so whenever he came, they always wanted that Mahashaya should buy from him, not from other shopkeepers. And they had a faith, if Mahashaya, a holy person like Mahashaya buys, so he'll earn more money. And they gave him on a reduced rate by themselves. He didn't have to bargain. That was Mahashaya. Mahashaya's purity was unparalleled. He said, I have never touched a woman in my life, so I have nothing to do with this world. At another time he observed, a man can overcome the temptations of gold and diamonds through renunciation, but he needs the grace of God to overcome lust. Where there is lust, there God is not. And where God is, there cannot be lust, says Tulsidas. As long as your body is burned to ashes, do not be proud of your chastity. No one can escape Maya unless Divine Mother allows one to pass. Mahashaya's humility was great. Sri Ramakrishna introduced Mahashaya to Swami Vivekananda in the words, this man has genuine humility. There is no hypocrisy in it. There are sometimes people are hypocritic. And how we read about Girish Ghosh's observation about Mahashaya. And his love for Girish Ghosh was great. For Swami Vivekananda was great. One person came, Sarat Chakravarti, to Mahashaya to get initiated. Mahashaya said, I will not be your guru. He never initiated anyone, gave mantra to anyone. He said, your guru is Shiva himself, to Sarat Chakravarti. Sarat Chakravarti hadn't met Swami Vivekananda. Later on, he comes to Belur Math, and he was waiting for Swami Vivekananda. He had not yet been initiated. Swami Vivekananda was resting in his room. From a door, he sees where Swami Vivekananda is resting, lying. He says, instead of Swami Vivekananda, there Shiva is lying. So he could, Sarat Chakravarti then knew Swami Vivekananda is born in the power of Shiva, incarnation of Shiva as we call. And later he got initiated from Swami Vivekananda. And beautiful book that Sarat Chakravarti wrote, his conversation with Swami Vivekananda, talks with the master. That book we have, and that is in the complete works of Swami Vivekananda also. And finally, when he was old, and before 2 days before his passing, Sarat Chakravarti was there, that's Swamiji's disciple. He was with Mahashaya in Devotee. And Mahashaya said, with the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, though I have not visited any other pilgrimage than Gaya, but in vision I can see anything. So he asked Sarat Chakravarti, name any pilgrimage. So Sarat Chakravarti said, Haridwar. He closed his eyes and he started describing Haridwar. What is there, how is Ganga, how is Har Ki Pauri, everything without ever visiting there. And it was so true, as if he visited, he could say everything. Prayag, everything of Sangam he could see in the vision by the grace of Sri Ramakrishna. Likewise, Varanasi and Puri, he described all this pilgrimage without ever visiting that. By the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, he could visit that. At his last day, December 27, 1899, he was born in 1846 and died in 1899. And that day, last moment, Sarat Chakravarti showed him the picture of Sri Ramakrishna. Nag Mahashaya, this is the picture of your Guru, in whose name you have renounced everything. He looked at the picture and said, grace, everything is the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, and closed his eyes. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi, as we read from the testimony of Swami Saradananda, who himself had experienced Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and his authority to say so, that who was in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Through devotion, Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna said, householders can reach the same stage where an all-renouncing monk can reach. And Nag Mahashaya is the testimony that householder devotee with their devotion to God can reach the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which a person practicing Jnana Yoga, all-renouncing monks can reach.